Tariffs also have another side. Isn't that something that you have to acknowledge?
No.
You could be plunging America into the biggest trade war since Smoot-Hawley.
But there are no tariffs.
You're going to stop. There are tariffs already at the moment.
There are no tariffs. All you have to do is build your plant in the United States, and you don't have any tariffs.
But people, a lot of places like this.
What does the Wall Street Journal know? I'm meeting with them tomorrow. What does the Wall Street Journal know? They've been wrong about everything. So have you, by the way. You've been wrong about
You're trying to turn this. You're trying to turn this.
You've been wrong.
No, you're trying to turn this into debate. There are business people. There are business people.
You're wrong. You've been wrong. You've been wrong all your life on this stuff.
What's going on, guys? We got to talk about Donald Trump visiting this economic club of Chicago. Okay, he interviewed with this woke behind Bloomberg reporter. Okay, this was definitely an adversarial interview where Donald Trump proceeded to cook this woke behind interviewer. Okay, this dude was out of his league because he challenged Trump. He brought up J6 and peaceful transfer of power. What I don't understand is this. You got Trump doing interview after interview after interview, and you got the people asking him the same damn question. Will you pledge to have a peaceful transfer? They keep asking him the same dang thing. It's like, how many times does he have to say it? Like, do you think if he asks him the same question like 100 times, maybe the 101 time is going to be a different answer or something? I don't understand what these people want, or if they just want to stir up controversy. Probably the latter. They just want to stir up controversy because they're idiots, they're stupid. But Donald Trump completely annihilated this man as it related to tariffs, as related to inflation, the border, so many things. Without further ado, let's get into it.
The first is just for the record and for those people watching on television, the Economic Club of Chicago and Bloomberg both invited Vice President Harris to a similar interview about her economic plans that she has declined so far.
I mean, of course she would decline. That's what Kamala Harris does. She doesn't show up. Matter of fact, she's so desperate that right before the election, when early voting has already started in most places, now all of a sudden she's going on Fox News. But in my opinion, it's too little too late, and the interview is probably gonna be a disaster and a catastrophe for her. So maybe you should have thought about that a little earlier on in the campaign.
You're also talking about 20% tariffs on the rest of the world. That is going to have a serious effect on the overall economy. And yes, you're going to find some people who will gain from individual tariffs. The overall effect could be massive in terms of the economy.
I agree it's going to have a massive effect, positive effect. It's going to be a positive, not a negative.
Well,
let me just tell you. Let me tell you. I know how committed you are to this.
It's just a deterrent, guys. Like, these tariffs is not meant to earn a bunch of money, even though some of them, of course, that is the goal, or that's a residual goal, but it's really a deterrent so that countries don't keep creating all these plants and manufacturing jobs in other nations and then trying to import it into America. Then you have no labor force here in America. The whole labor force is over somewhere else. So you have the tariffs in place to encourage them to not want to pay the tariffs and not want to have to do any imports because it's already in America. It's really that simple. Like, how hard is this to understand?
It must be hard for you to, spend 25 years talking about tariffs as being negative and then have somebody explain to you that you're totally wrong. It'll have a negative, it will have... I'll go a step further.
40
if
million,
you don't
40
do
million,
this,
President
this
Trump,
country has no
40
chance.
million jobs is a lot of jobs to rely on.
They're all coming back.
Those are 40 million jobs. Those are 40 million jobs.
I can tell you right now, because I gotta say it, guys, and I'm gonna let him cook. But anybody who sit like this is a beta male. Okay, like, I understand maybe the chair could be a little funny sometimes, but anybody who sit like this, man, I mean, he might have a little bit of that rainbow action going, a little bit of the LGBTQ. But
40 million jobs is a lot of jobs to rely on.
They're all coming back.
Those are 40 million jobs. Those are 40 million jobs in America that rely on trade.
Are you ready? John Deere, great company. They announced about a year ago they're going to build big plants outside of the United States, right? They're going to build them in Mexico.
And you threatened them with tariffs and they stopped.
That's right. I said, if John Deere builds those plants and not selling anything into the United States, they just announced yesterday they're probably not going to build the plants, okay?
So so Trump got proof and evidence. What I'm trying to figure out is, like, if Trump's got the evidence, then why the hell do y'all people keep running up to get done up in these interviews? Trump's got the receipts. This guy just admitted it himself. Let him repeat it back. He just said it himself.
John Deere, great company. They announced about a year ago, they're going to build big plants outside of the United States, right? They're going to build them in Mexico.
And you threatened them with tariffs and they stopped.
That's right. I said, if
he knows that, then why the hell you over here arguing?
Deere builds those plants and not selling anything into the United States. They just announced yesterday they're probably not going to build the plants, okay? I kept the jobs here.
People are betting that your policies are going to drive up debt, they're going to drive up inflation, so they're going to drive up interest rates. Are the investors wrong?
Yeah, I had 4 years no inflation. But
that was when you had much.
I had 4 years. It's better than that. And Biden, who has no idea where the hell he is, okay? Biden went 2 years with no inflation because he inherited from me. And then they started spending money like drunken sailors.
You've gone backwards and forwards about whether you want to keep Jerome Powell as chair of the Federal Reserve. His term as chair runs on to May 2026. Would you seek to remove or demote him?
Look, I think it's the greatest job in government. You show up to the office once a month and you say, let's see, flip a coin. And everybody talks about you like you're a god. Oh, what will he do? I mean, before, the guy used to walk into my office, he was like begging. Oh, he was fine.
But you did talk about you talked about removing him once.
I did, because he was keeping the rates too high.
Yeah.
And I was right.
And you would do that again?
In fact, he actually dropped them too much when I did this. Because I said I was threatening to terminate him. There was a question as to whether or not you could. And there was an article in the New York Times, 2 half pages. 1 page said I can do it by lawyers. 1 half page said I couldn't. And that was enough for him. And he dropped the hell out of the rates. He dropped them too much. He dropped them actually too much. Okay. Here's the story.
Basically, what they like is, so Trump knows how to negotiate and to do these pressure campaigns to get people to do what's best for him and the nation. A lot of these fake behind politicians, they're corrupt and they're weasels and slime balls. So they're mad at Trump because basically he's better than them and knows how to actually get things done and do business properly and run America like a business. And because to them, their way of doing it, which is fraternizing behind the scenes, coming up with these weaselly behind scumbaggery, nation betraying, treasonous deals behind the scenes, because Trump isn't doing that, they hate him for it.
I think that if you're a very good president with good sense, you should be able to at least talk to him. I don't say make the decision at all, but I've been a very successful businessman. I've done really good, much better. Now people are understanding how good I've done because they're seeing it much better than the fake news wants to give me credit for. What does the Wall Street Journal know? I'm meeting with them tomorrow. What does the Wall Street Journal know? They've been wrong about everything. So have you, by the way. You've been wrong.
You're trying to turn this. You've
been wrong.
No, you're trying to turn this into debate. There are business people.
But you're wrong. You've been wrong. You've been wrong all your life on this stuff. I want a lot of people to come into our country, but I want them to come in legally. I don't want to have.
That means you will have to deport. You know, you are talking about deporting 11 million people. That is a lot of people to take out.
Guys, who the hell cares? If 11 million people break the law, what does that mean? Just let them all go? It's too many people to prosecute. It's too many people to do anything about. Just let them do it. What if it was 20, 30, 40 million people? I guess it's too many people. What are we going to do, right? Like, no, don't break the law and try to come into the country legally, even if the laws are bad. I can't just say, well, the laws are bad, so I'm just going to break them. You have to change the laws and go through some sort of process. You can't just break the laws. Like, I don't understand. First, they said the border was closed and secure. Then the border is not secure, but it's Trump's fault. And now an open border is good? Like, what are these people? These people are smoking.
It came out last week that 425,000 people are horrible criminals at the highest level. But it came out that 13,099 were let in during their administration. They tried to say longer, wrong. Over the last 3.5 years, 13,000 plus people came in, murderers. They're in jail for murder. Some were having the death penalty. They were all released into our country. 13,099 people were released into our country. We had drug dealers released. We had street gangs released. Look at what's happening in Aurora. But now I don't have to go with Aurora anymore. Look at what happened last night in Times Square, where migrants from all over the place. You know, it's not just South America. We have people coming in from the Congo, large numbers from the Congo and Africa. They came in, as of last night, I was speaking to Tom Homan, 180 countries. People came in. They came from prisons and jails. They came from mental institutions and insane asylums, a step above. They came from the terrorists. We had large numbers of terrorists come in. When I was president, we had the strongest border in the history of our country. I built hundreds of miles of wall, and walls work, by the way. Hundreds of miles. We had the best numbers we've ever had. Now we have the worst numbers. And here's the problem. We have some of the worst criminals in the world coming in. Now, Venezuela, their crime has gone down at levels that nobody's ever seen before because they've taken their street gangs and their drug dealers and they've emptied their prisons. Not fully, because they can't get enough buses. They've emptied their prisons. They load up the buses and they drive them into the United States, and they're dropping their prisoners into our country. Their crime is down. Their numbers are crazy. Those people have to be returned. We can't live with thousands of murderers and not.
The issue. Only 3 weeks to go to the election. Will you commit now to respecting and encouraging a peaceful transfer of power?
Well, you had a peaceful transfer of power.
You had a peaceful transfer of power. You had a peaceful. Come on, President Trump. You had a peaceful transfer of power compared with Venezuela, but it was by far the worst transfer of power for a long time.
Thank you. I appreciate that, because this is what they like to do. This is what they like to do.
The question, President Trump, is: would you respect the decision?
When I found out about this interview, I did a little check. He's a man that has not been a big Trump fan over the years. So I had a choice. Do I do this interview or not? I'm glad I did it. But do I do this interview, or do I disappoint a lot of people? Because I know a lot of people in the audience. But his view is very different than mine. Let me just say.
I'm asking you a question, President.
We had a term. Peacefully and patriotically. These were people. If you think an election is crooked, and I do, 100%, if you think the day it comes when you can't protest, you take a look at the Democrats. They protested 2016. They're still protesting it. Nobody talks about them. But if we protest, we want to have honest elections. How about this? Gavin Newsom, he's the governor of California.
Newsom.
He signed Newsom, I call him.
Can y'all believe the nerve of this guy? Like, this guy knows that Trump calls him Gavin Newsom, and then he tries to correct. I wonder if he ever corrects anybody who makes fun of Trump, or Byron Donalds, or Wesley Hunt, or anybody who's on the conservative side. But let's keep going.
But do you think?
No, he corrected me. He corrected me. That's the first time I've been corrected.
There are CEOs out here. If they said those sort of things about a rival CEO, they'd be sacked. Do you think it's fine for a president?
But they don't have to survive like me. They don't have to go through what I have to go through. There has never been a president that's been treated like me, so I have to fight my own way.
Well, you made a very good job of.
He signed a bill in California 2 days ago that you don't even have the right to ask a person for voter ID. And if you ask a person for voter ID, of course you have to show voter ID. The only reason you wouldn't do it because they want to cheat. The bill says you cannot, it's against the law for you to ask a person, may I please see your voter ID when he votes? What is our country coming to?
They try. They fail, because Teflon Don is victorious again, okay? I already cast my ballot for him earlier today. I know this light is pretty bright, but trust me, y'all can kind of see it at like the angle here, like kind of a little bit. This is a Georgia peach, okay? Like this glare is like, this light is bright as hell. But yes, I cast my vote today already. It's too late. Okay, there's tons of black men out there just like me, tons of Americans out there just like me, and we're voting for Trump because we don't care nothing about these phony dictator on day one falsehoods. We don't care nothing about this January 6th nonsense trying to blame Trump and say it wasn't a peaceful transfer of power, even though the 20th came and went and Trump left. You didn't have to take him kicking and screaming. The 20th came and he was like, all right, here's your papers, Joe. I'm out of here. Good luck. I hope you do well. Okay. Like he didn't refuse calls from Joe if Joe needed help. Like these two have communicated about stuff even after the election. Right. So I don't know what the hell are these people even talking about. Just because you had like a riot at the Capitol, they are going to hold on to this, I'm telling you, forever, because in their mind is a weapon that they could continue to leverage because they know they don't have a great economy. They don't have world peace. They don't have a secure border. Things are not going good. Things are going crazy. And they just have nothing to go off of except for lies. I'm surprised he didn't bring up Project 2025, find people on both sides, all of that other nonsense. Y'all smell that? It's the smell of another cooked leftist. Let me know what you guys think. Drop a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. I appreciate y'all watching the Black Anomaly Rising channel. I'm out.
But they've been wrong about everything. So have you, by the way. You've been wrong about
You're trying to turn this. You're trying to turn this.
You've been wrong about
No, you're trying to turn this into debate. There are business people. There are business
But you're wrong.
people.
You've been wrong. You've been wrong all your life on this stuff.